right, we are live, everyone. Welcome.
Alrighty, welcome everybody. Thanks for coming. What a great thing to see all these lovely learners here. Get excited to meet our friends at sea. Friends at sea, give us a wave. Alrighty, so those folks are actually out on a vessel right now, just off the coast of Vancouver Island. But let's give you a little background. My partner Nick's going to start up a slideshow for us, give you a little background info where everybody gets nice and comfy in their seat. And we can start our discussion with the ship. Alrighty. If we can get that screen share going there, Brian, that'd be awesome. Wonderful. There we are. So welcome everybody to Ship2Shore with the Northeast Pacific Deep Sea Exploration Project. Welcome. Alrighty, I have the pleasure of being your host today. My name is Monica Peltz. I am an education coordinator with Ocean Networks Canada, and I'm delighted to be sharing with my folks at sea as well as my colleague, Nick.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm joining you virtually today. My name is Nick. I also work with Monica at Ocean Networks Canada.
Fantastic.
And before we continue, we'll just do a quick land and sea acknowledgement. So this is referencing where we work. We're part of the University of Victoria in Victoria. So that's what this is about. But there would also be a different territory acknowledgement for where you are. But for us here, we acknowledge and respect the Lekwungen peoples on whose traditional territory the University of Victoria stands, and the Songhees, Esquimalt, and Cosaanich peoples whose historical relationships to the land continue to this day. We also acknowledge the Indigenous communities with whom they have the honor to collaborate on coastal monitoring and data management solutions.
Wonderful. So what's an Ocean Networks Canada? Maybe you haven't heard that term before. Well, let me give you the quick version. Ocean Networks Canada operates a cabled observatory system in Canada's ocean basins. And with that, we are able to work in partnerships with Indigenous communities, coastal communities, citizen scientists, folks like you. We do data science. We have 18 years plus of data science expertise where we collect data on the seafloor. We work with the folks at sea to ingest their data, and we make this really accessible through our ocean data portal. We also have conservation and protection in mind as we address things like climate change, ocean health, marine safety, ocean protection, and we're really excited to be partnered with our folks at sea, and we're going to go to them where we can ask some questions. Nick is going to tell us a little bit about partners. And don't worry, we'll get to the good stuff pretty quick. Oh, Nick, you are muted.
Sorry, thank you. Good point. Yes, just going to get to our guests in a second here, but just to acknowledge the expedition partners. So the NEPDEP expedition is a collaboration of scientists, communicators, and marine planning professionals from federal and Indigenous governments, nonprofit institutions, and academia. So our mission is to discover, explore, and monitor life far below the waves for the conservation of these remarkable ecosystems. So we would like to acknowledge the Council of the Haida Nation, the Nuu-chah-nulth Tribal Council, the University of Victoria, Royal BC Museum, Fisheries and Oceans Canada, and the United Nations Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development, and the Challenger 150 program.
Awesome, thank you. And of course, we'd like to thank you guys as well for coming and being here today. That is awesome. So some of the goals of the expedition this time out is they're going to help us gather information that can be used to make decisions to monitor and protect deep sea ecosystems and study little known biodiversity hotspots. We know that they're actually visiting some cold seeps, and we've got a really cool rock sample here that's come from a cold seep, which we'll talk about as well. And we're looking at how the study sites influence culture, biology, ecology, and are significant areas for future conservation. It's got some really cool stuff going on out at sea.
Okay, so just to give you context for where we're located, so the expedition is exploring off of Vancouver island. You can see here with this map. It's going to be mostly focusing on the area in green, where cold seeps have been identified and on seamounts. So just to give you a little bit of context of where we're located. And I'll go to the next slide here.
Wonderful. So for those who are in the audience, I'm happy to come around and get some questions from you in person, or if you prefer, we also have this tool called Menti, which is accessible by your phone. And the folks who are joining us online, if you would like to go to menti.com, you're going to put in this code, which is 2450-5173, and your questions will go to myself and Nick, where we can ask them and of our ship crew, and we can get them answered for you. So those of us who are present, you can put your hand up and I'll come bring you the mic and you can ask your question, or again, if you prefer, you can do it online. If you're a little bit shy, you can use this tool, Menti, instead. Both will get us your questions. All right, now we're going to go to our onboard hosts.
Yeah, so here we have just the introduction here of these awesome people that are going to be joining us today. So we have Heidi Gardner, biologist in the Deep Sea Ecology Program from Fisheries and Oceans Canada. We have Rain Boyko, marine planner with the Council of the Haida Nation. And we have Allison Whale, capacity building coordinator with the Nuu-chah-nulth Tribal Council. So maybe we should go to them, hey?
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. I think Nick is going to share to you what we are doing. So we are out on the John P. Tully. It's a ship off the west coast of Vancouver Island. And what we're doing is we've sent a robot down below the ocean waves to study the animals that live in the deep. We're particularly studying cold seeps today. So that's actually where methane bubbles out of the seafloor. And believe it or not, whole communities, complex communities can grow up around these areas, and it's largely by the action of all things but bacteria. Trust me, when you see the footage, you're going to realize how cool it is. Right now, we're seeing huge carbonate slab, and it's got beautiful corals growing off of it and sponges and all kinds of things. So you can actually see what we're doing with the robot, which is pretty fantastic. I'll pass it off to my colleagues to introduce themselves too.
Hello, everybody. My name is Rain. I am really excited to answer all of your questions today. And so I work for the Council of the Haida Nation's Marine Planning Program, and my role is a marine planner. And I've been fortunate enough to come on board this vessel and work with the NEPDEP team for 3 expeditions now. And this expedition, we're focusing on cold seep habitat, which is really exciting and something that I don't know the most about. So I'm learning a lot while we're out here.
Hi, everyone. My name's Allison. This is my first time out at sea with the DFO and ONC team, so it's really exciting to be out here. I'm from the Nuu-chah-nulth Tribal Council's Fisheries Department called Uaklak, and that means taking care of in Nuu-chah-nulth. And yeah, I'm excited to hear what questions you guys have. Thanks.
Awesome. So Nick is going to show us the live dive because this is really exciting. The ship has a ROV, which is a remotely operated vehicle that's actually in the water right now, driving around and looking at stuff. And for our audience at Science World, we have got an example of an ROV at the front that people can come take a look at in a moment. You ready, Nick?
Yes. Should be ready for us to show.
Fantastic.
All right. So as Nick brings this up, I just wanted to let you know that here on the vessel, what's happening is we have a lab on the back of the deck, and we have pilots and all kinds of screens, and we actually don't have anyone in the vessel that goes down to the ocean floor. So we're controlling everything from the lab up here, and what you're seeing is what we're seeing. We stream it out live to the world, what you're hopefully, sorry, the feed froze for us. I hope what you're seeing is close to what we're seeing right now. You've got huge carbonate slabs and all sorts of critters that then make their homes in these places. So we've seen corals and rockfish and all sorts of neat things. Is it looking okay on your end, Nick? I just wanted to double check. Or does it? Okay, great.
Looks
Thank
good
you.
to me.
So this is our work, and the reason why we're doing this is in the deep sea, we have areas where certain communities build up that have like biologically significant, and they increase the diversity and abundance of animals in the area. And we're doing this research together because we're curious about their conservation and management and future directions. So yeah, that's sharing with you today. We'll give you a little bit of a tour of the vessel later, and we're just happy to answer any questions that anyone might have.
Wonderful. I'm going to start us off with a question, Heidi. You've said it a few times. What's a bicarbonate slab?
I am already going to bring in an extra person. So, geologist, hydrogeologist. So, we have so many people working on the ship beyond us, but they want an accurate description of what a carbonate slab is. Okay, so please introduce yourself.
Hello. Yeah, in this one? Okay. Hi, my name is Rachel Lauer. I am a hydrogeologist. So I study how water moves through rocks, both on land and under the ocean. And I work at the University of Calgary. And your question was, what are carbonate slabs? Yeah, so great question. We've been looking at them all day. And carbonate slabs in this part of the ocean are formed by one of the many processes that can actually make a carbonate. In this case, we have buried organic material that actually forms methane gas. And as a result, you get high fluid pressure that builds up under the sediments. That fluid pressure actually builds up enough to kind of fracture the sediments and allow some of that fluid to make its way up and then spread out. And ultimately, you have what's called microbial interactions. So you have little bugs and microbes that are actually taking that methane gas and transforming it through chemical processes into what ultimately forms this carbonate that we're seeing here on this cold seep. So it's actually the interaction between biology, chemistry, and physics that is creating these massive platforms of carbonate where we're seeing all these interesting critters today.
Thank you so much. Now, I did see a question, and I'm going to ask people to put their hand up if they have a question. I can bring them the mic. They can ask these folks. But another question, and I think it's a pretty good one, is where are all the fish? Isn't the ocean? Where's all the fish?
That's the amazing thing, is if you start looking closer in amongst all these rocks, you are seeing fish. Actually, right now, I'm hoping, are you guys seeing the bright yellow sponge? Are you there yet, Nick? No?
I think we might
You
be
might be
slightly
about 20
behind.
seconds behind. Yes, it's coming. There's an octopus using a sponge as a cave. So you're going to see this in about 20 seconds. But actually, if you look in and amongst the rocks, they're all hiding underneath. So the rockfish like to use this as habitat to protect them. But the other thing I will be honest about is that we are in the deep sea. So we are over 475 meters below the earth or the ocean surface, and it's too deep for light. They live in a dark world, and here we've come along with a noisy robot with lights. So I do admit a lot of fish avoid the ROV. So that's why we're documenting more the habitat. So the rocks and the corals and all the little fish that kind of live in and amongst it. But we can't get the same sort of abundance and diversity of fish that you would see, for example, if you were doing like a fishing trawl or something like that. Things that we're seeing today that are really cool that like to stay are skate eggs and the actual skate species. And what was another cool fish we saw today?
Fish. Oh. Hello. We saw rockfish, nudibranchs, and sea stars, and pom-pom anemones. Is that the correct name? And some jellyfish coral. It was really something to see, for me anyway, because I haven't seen it before, just what voracious eaters sea stars and nudibranchs are on the coral.
Wonderful. We've got a young scientist here who has a question for you. Go ahead, my friend.
How deep is the ROV?
How deep is the ROV diving right now, and maybe how deep could it go?
Yeah, we're just going to try and turn the camera here to give you a look at what the ROV controls look like. So sitting back there, you can see a lot of screens going on. All of those are giving us a look at what the ROV is doing, including the cameras on the ROV. So what these people here sitting up at the front, they're controlling the robot that we send down. And the depth we are working at today is around 400 to 500 meters below the surface, but this ROV has capabilities of going up to 1,000 meters below the surface.
That's
Yeah,
pretty
it
amazing.
takes a whole team to operate this robot.
Okay, and what would you like to know, my friend?
I just Is it an anglerfish you want to ask? Is that? Is there any anglerfish?
So the question is, are there any anglerfish? Have you seen any anglerfish, and are there anglerfish out in the ocean?
Yeah, great question. The deep sea anglerfish is certainly very cool. We unfortunately haven't seen a deep sea anglerfish on any of the expeditions I've been on. They are typically really, really deep, so even deeper than we can send an ROV down. So usually even deeper than 3,000 meters below the surface. So they are very far down. We don't encounter them very often, and when we do, they are often just washed up. But yeah, good question.
And a colleague just reminded me we have seen viper fish, so they're kind of similar. They have the big mouth and the scary teeth. We've seen that this trip. So thank you.
Sweet. In the flag.
Why are there not that much pearl in the ocean?
So where are the pearls?
So why are there not much? Why are there no pearls in the ocean?
Why are there no pearls in the ocean? Am I understanding your question?
Pearl. Oyster pearl.
Oh, oyster pearls? Have you seen any pearls or treasure in the ocean, perhaps?
Question. We have not seen any pearls in the ocean. Oysters are typically a little more shallow than what we're looking at here in the deep sea. They grow in the more intertidal area. But yeah, the oysters will have pearls sometimes. Yeah, we don't really see those down here.
Yeah, and the oysters actually make it in their body, so you have to open them up to be able to get the pearls out. And our robot doesn't actually have any arms this trip, maybe in a future trip. So we're just down here looking, not picking up things and opening them up. And then it's not really treasure. We've actually found more like trash down here. So every once in a while, even this deep 500 meters below the ocean surface, we've seen garbage, we've seen lost fishing gear, all that sort of thing. So I don't know if you'd consider that treasure, but thanks for those cool questions. We are always keeping our eye open for treasure. Don't you worry. Yeah.
Alrighty, I'm going to pass it to Nick because we've got some questions that have come in online. And again, if folks in person would like their question asked, they can put their hand up. I'll come find you. But we're going to pass it to Nick because we've got some online folks who have asked some questions. So Nick's up next, and Chip, you're doing great.
Yeah, thanks, Monica. So here's a question for our friends at sea. How long can the ROV stay underwater for each trip? And I guess I'll start by saying, just as a reminder for everybody, when I say ROV, that means this robot that we're looking at the camera of right now, the remotely operated vehicle. That's this machine that they're using underwater.
Yeah, okay, that's a great question. We had to kind of confer a little bit on that one. So, the remotely operated vehicle, because it's a robot, it doesn't need any kind of oxygen or anything like that. So, it can actually stay in the deep for many, many hours. And usually, we end dives after about 8 to 10 hours, just because, we have people operating them on board. And, because we're human, we need to take breaks as well. So we can operate the ROV for a very long time, and it is connected to a cable. But there are a lot of different components involved, such as batteries and things like that, that sometimes need to be swapped out or recharged or things like that. Yeah, so many, many hours.
Can I add to that? I just wanted to say how cool it is to see the captain on the ship talk to the people in the lab to make sure that everything, like, they have to work together. So it's all hands on deck when the ROV is down there. So if they need to move up however many meters, then the captain way up above us needs to communicate with them and move the whole ship, to follow along where the ROV is going.
We've got some folks who are pointed excitedly at the big yellow something. What is that? I know I said I would give Nick a turn, but this is pretty cool. What is that big yellow something?
Yeah, fantastic. That is the bright yellow glass sponge. And inside there, if you can see that creature in there, that is a giant Pacific octopus just hanging out, tucked in there, and probably having a nice little nap. And also on that yellow sponge, you could see those kind of hairy looking starfishy things. Those are called crinoids.
That is super exciting. So this octopus is hanging out in that sponge. It's like a great apartment. Look at those suckers. Very cool. It kind of matches the one on your shirt, Heidi. So maybe you brought us that one today because of what you're wearing. That's pretty cool. And it looks like there's some shrimp there too. Yeah, she's wearing an octopus shirt out at sea, and there's the namesake octopus. Now, my audience, can you spot the eyes on the octopus?
Remember,
Go ahead,
does
Heidi.
everybody remember how many legs an octopus has?
There's no fooling these guys, Heidi. They all said 8. Excellent. Nick, have we got more Minty questions?
Yeah, we can do one more. So again, relating to the remotely operated vehicle, is the ROV battery powered or connected by a tether? And if it has a tether, how long is that?
Excellent question. So yeah, it's powered by a cable that is connected to the back of our deck, and then feeds into all the systems here in the lab. So that's why we don't have to even worry about battery power as much, because everything's fed from up here. And actually, I can give you a little tour of what the ROV looks like through the video in a minute when we give a tour of the vessel. But yeah, and how deep can it go? That depends on which robot or remotely operated vehicle you're using. This one right now is only going to go to about 1,000 meters maximum, but some we've worked with can go to 3,000 meters below the ocean surface. And trust me, we see some weird animals down there. It's pretty cool.
Amazing. So that's a great moment. I'm actually just going to again remind folks who maybe are just joining us or didn't quite have the Menti ready that they can use the code 2450-5173 to ask questions on Menti if they prefer. And Nick, why don't you show us the tour of the ship? So again, I'm going to come around if people put their hand up and they'd like to ask a question. I'll be right over to you. But we're going to have a look at what the actual working deck looks like.
Yeah, so Monica, I was just mentioning to you that I unfortunately don't have that video right now, but maybe we can show something else.
No problem. Well, you look for that, and you know what? You can tell us what's happening here, Heidi.
Hi, Monica. I think you asked what's happening right now. One of the reasons that we're here to study the deep sea is for possible conservation. And what you're seeing, I believe, on your frame is lost fishing gear. So that's like a trap for fishing. And so these carbonates are actually supporting a lot of life. The life there can be very fragile. And by documenting the effects of things like human impacts of fishing and that sort of thing, we can learn more, and then we can inform management and possible conservation of these areas.
Awesome. So I've got some audience folks here. We've got 2 questions. They've told me right off the bat 2 questions. So we'll ask both those and then we'll let you answer.
How many fish have you seen?
So that's number 1. How many fish have you seen? And then your turn.
If I want
I
to be
don't.
part,
Go ahead.
yeah? Okay. If I want to be part of your mission, what do I need to study?
I'm so sorry you broke up. Can you repeat that?
No problem. So the question is, how many fish have you seen? And the other question is, if I want to do what you're doing, what should I study in school?
Okay. I cannot even count all the fish that we've seen so far, so I'm going to just rattle off like a few ones. We've seen a hagfish. Those are the gross ones that create the slime. We've seen skates. Those are the big, beautiful ones that look like manta rays, and we've seen their eggs, and we've seen at least 2 different species of that. We've seen a whole bunch of rockfish. We've seen the yellow eye, which is a conservation concerned species. We've seen thorny heads. We have seen sablefish, which a lot of people might know because they're very yummy. We've seen poacher, I believe. We've also seen, what are a couple other ones? We've seen dragonfish, and we've seen, and the viperfish we already saw. So those are some of the ones that are popping to my head right now. And then, do you know what? What did we do to study here? That's the coolest thing, is that we are part of a huge team, and we've all done something kind of different. So I'm a marine biologist. I study the animals. So I took biology in school, and I've always liked the outdoors and animals, and this just seemed like a really good fit. But we have lots of different people doing different jobs on here. So I actually might get someone like Toby over soon. And in the meantime, Allison and Rain, do you want to go? And then we'll get a couple more people in.
Yeah, similar to Heidi, I also studied marine biology. So my background is in marine science and biology, and I love working with the animals and observing and getting outdoors and doing field work, such as being on these ships, which is a really, great opportunity. But a big part of, I think, how you get out here to work collaboratively like this is kind of starting to dip your feet into where you are really passionate. So sometimes we have videographers that focus on taking imagery, and we have one coming to share in just a moment. And then we have ROV pilots who have, I'm sure their background is in all kinds of different things too, technology wise. We have people working on data management, oceanographers who study the chemical properties in the water column. There is a whole plethora of knowledge and backgrounds on board with us.
Hello, and I went to RMOT, which is Resource Management Officer Technologies at VIU. So I didn't have to take quite as much school as everybody else here. I think my program was 2 years long, and it really just prepared me to do a little bit of everything, like come out on the boat with these wonderful people.
All right. My name's Toby. I'm the photographer and videographer on the ship. So I get to take photos of all the cool things that we see. So all of this footage you're seeing at the moment, I will take still photographs from that, and I'll publish them online to raise awareness of what's down there and show everyone what we get to see. I'm going to pass you on.
Hi, I'm in the frame. Oh, camera. Hi, I'm Julian. I'm an oceanographer on board. I help collect samples to study the chemical, physical, and biological processes within the oceans. And I'm also a zooplankton taxonomist. So we collect samples and then we bring them back to the lab, and I identify the species.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah. So that's just a quick inside look at some of the roles you can have on board the ship.
Very cool. We'll just take a moment. A taxonomist. What does a taxonomist do? Do they just do taxes for the ship? They make sure everything's paid for? I don't think so. What's a taxonomist do?
Hi, Julian is very smart. No. So a taxonomist is someone who likes to study the names and classifications of animals. So it's really important for us because if you don't know what lives down here, how can you protect it? So what we do is we look at the animals and they all have different features that help identify them. So for example, when you're looking at fish, you often count the fins it has, the spines on the fins. For some of us, you were looking at that octopus earlier. We look at the legs and where the suckers are and how many suckers it has. And all these sorts of things help taxonomists give animals their names and help them identify things to species. And what's cool in the deep sea is often we come down and we don't even know what's there. Yeah.
Awesome. We have some more questions from our audience. So I'm going to let our audience ask a question here. You ready, my friend?
Yeah.
Okay.
How do ROVs and submersibles withstand high pressure?
How does everything withstand that high pressure? That's a good question.
You're smart to know that because you're right. When you're 400 or 500 meters underneath the ocean surface, the weight of the ocean creates extra pressure. So these submersibles, these special tools are designed to withstand pressure. And you're right, they have to have different housings. So all of these have different raised outer coats than we would if we were, say, sending a camera down in the shallow subtitle. All of these have pressure rated casings, special attachments to make sure that they can't leak water in or have pressure or anything like that. Did you raise your hand? Want to talk about pressure? Or no? Okay. I thought you did.
No pressure.
Okay. Sorry, I thought a colleague got me. Sorry about that. But that's basically it. And you're right. So that's how we send the cameras down. They have extra thick coverings, extra pressure rated casings. And sometimes, yeah, you just have to make sure you bite the right thing. And it doesn't always work because you're right. It's a stressful environment down there. So it's very cool that we're down there and exploring and using these really cool tools. And they just keep improving and developing over time.
Super cool. All right, I've got someone who's got a question. You ready? Awesome.
What's a typical day on the ship and how many workers are on board?
So what's a typical day like and how many people are on board? That's a great question too.
Also, how long do they stay?
Oh, and I'd like to know how long you're going to stay out there this time.
Okay, well, as someone that's not used to being out on the ship, I will say that breakfast is at 6 a.m. in the morning. So I am the only one in my pajamas getting breakfast in the morning. But it is wonderful being out here with all these amazing people from different backgrounds and different places around Canada. And there's pretty good rooms on this ship. I think we're pretty lucky to have private rooms with two per room. So Heidi gets to share with me in bunk beds. And the beds are really skinny and they have a shelf to make sure you don't roll out if it gets too wavy. Sometimes you get up and you forget that you're on a ship and you kind of just walk really quickly towards the wall. So you got to pay attention to what's going on. And then, yeah, I just get to watch all these scientists do their amazing jobs out here and help observe what the ROV is seeing and see them maneuver around obstacles that they're coming up to in real time. And yeah, I'll let these guys.
Fantastic. I was just going to add that as far as the number of people on board, I think we have 16 scientists on board this trip. But as far as the whole crew, including the Canadian Coast Guard crew, we have, I think, around 20 or 30 people that are usually on board at any given time for this size of ship. So yeah, you could say just under 50 or around 40 to 50 people usually are on the vessel, all working in shifts. And so that involves people that are like the chef, the baker, the people that are helping feed us every single day. And as was mentioned by Allison here, the breakfast is early. We also eat lunch a bit earlier and dinner a little earlier. It just keeps everyone on a really routine schedule so we can all work effectively.
And a typical day looks like after the amazing breakfast, we get up and we have the ROV team. So, all the technicians and people who are working with the ROV, they get it ready. We go talk to the captain, make sure the plan is ready for the day. There's someone called a bosun who runs all the activities that come off and on the ship. We all make sure we're on the same page. And then we get going on the dive. And then what we typically do is send the dive, the ROV, the robot down for about 10 hours. And we just take turns. There's a bunch of us sitting here watching screens all day, and we're doing scientific things like making annotations, like when we see certain species or certain rocks or certain features. We do that all day, and then we have dinner, and we pull up the ROV at the end of the day with the support of the wonderful crew we have here. And then guess what? There's poor people who have to work overnight. So during the nighttime, we have a team of oceanographers. So poor Julian you met earlier, he's usually on different hours than us, but it's really important for us to study the water columns around these cool deep sea features. So they work overnight and they deploy tools that you're going to see in this video later to sample the water column. So they get nets for all the tiny little creatures that live there. They get little capsules to capture the water to study the chemicals and that sort of thing in it. And we all get lulled to sleep in our bunks just different times of day. So it's a busy life out here. It's really fun. And there's a bonus project going on that I haven't even mentioned, which is we're studying hydrothermal geology, which Rachel does, which she was telling you about. But there's a few days that we take breaks from diving, and she has a really huge temperature probe that she's been launching off of the aft deck of the vessel, and she's sticking it into the ground. And what they're trying to discover is the heat flow happening in the sea floor, which is just a fascinating concept for us all.
Very cool stuff.
Oh, and we're out here for 2 weeks. You asked how long we were out here. I'm sorry. We're out here for 2 weeks, but the vessel can go out for like a month to sea. They have huge fridges. All they worry about is feeding us, but we have everything we need: fuel, water, all that great stuff. And people can stay out for a long time, but ourselves, we're only out here for 2 weeks. Thank you. Sorry.
That is wonderful. Now, Nick has brought up the Menti slide there just again in case folks would like to ask a few questions, because we are actually nearing the end of our time. So I really appreciate the folks who are here with us. And I've got joined on here because I'm hoping I can share the video of the ship. So I'm going to try sharing my screen and see if it works. There's nothing like a little troubleshoot as we go. Why not? And I'll just ask, is there anybody else in the audience who has a question? Alrighty. All right, looks like we've helped these people learn some pretty interesting things. Let's see, nope, not that. I want to share screen. Share screen. Go. Oh, there we go. Let's see, have we got Heidi?
I don't see it yet.
Okay, hold on. We'll figure it out. Whoop. Recursion. There we go. Now we must have Heidi. Nope. Alrighty. Well, I'm gonna stop share. You know what, Heidi? We can't get that tour of the vessel this time. That's okay. We make it work. All right, Nick, have we got any more Menti questions?
I don't see any yet, but yeah, reminder for folks, if you prefer to type in your question, menti.com, and then the code, numerical code is 24505173. You can type your question in anonymously and I will see it.
Wonderful. I do have a question actually before we go. There's a question about how can we follow along? How can we continue to participate and help in learning about our oceans as this expedition continues? Because this has just been a short, believe it or not, 40-minute interlude. But like you said, you got out there for 2 weeks. So how can people join in? What can they do when they'd like to learn more and see more of this expedition?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Monica. How people can kind of learn more as we go on this journey is our website, nepdep.com. You can follow along through the live stream. Whenever we do a dive, we're going to live stream it there. You can also find some extra resources about the NEPDEP team and all of the different people we have on board, along with their roles, and also some previous dives as well from 2023 and 2024. You can take a look at those as well.
And I'll just let you know the Facebook page that is showing the live stream event as well is Northeast Pacific Deep Sea Exploration Project. And that one has the live streams always on it as well. And so you can talk to the scientists in real time while they're seeing exactly what you're seeing. And then there's some also other wonderful scientists that weren't able to be on the ship with us this time that are also contributing to the comment section.
Oh, we lost your sound.
Okay, Monica and Nick, can you hear us? Check.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. We were just wondering if you would like us to try and play the video from our end. Heidi has it ready to go. Is that something that you would like us to try?
Sure, we can try that. We'll just quickly mention this picture that we're looking at here. This is the outside of the ship that you're on, right? This would be like a drone shot from a previous expedition, but this is the Canadian Coast Guard ship John P. Tully that our folks are joining us from right now.
As you can see, we're just off.
It looks like it should be okay.
On the aft deck of the Tully. As you can see, we're just off the west coast of Vancouver Island, and we're here to check out coal habitats. And I just wanted to show you a few of their coal tubes. So this is a remotely operated vehicle. You'll hear us refer to it as an ROV. It's also referred to as our robot, just to make it interesting for you. But we go down, we send this thing down, it has thrusters. These are little propellers that spin, and this is how they control how it moves around the water column. You can see it's got tons of sensors and lighting. So here's lighting here, here. And then this is our main camera that you guys get the footage from. And then we attach a couple extras that have been taken off at this moment. So this is our main tool, and this is connected to the ship via a long yellow cable that we can then control from the back of the deck. So this is how we're getting integrated. But we also have some cool tubes. So if you want to come with me, they're doing some plankton work in the background. They just pulled up some nets that they would have collected all the little critters that they find in the ocean in the water column. So they're looking at what animals live above and around cold seams. All right, there's one more down there. Come on. All right, so this is called a rosette. It samples the water column. You can send this over the edge of the ship and send it down to depth. And those little tubes can actually close, and then they collect parcels of water at depth. We bring it up, and the scientists study it to learn things like chemicals, how much oxygen is in the water, and temperature, and all sorts of things. Even sometimes things like our microplastics in the water. If you look right here, this is where the tubes close. And we can trigger that from up here on the vessel. So you can imagine those closing on the tube, and that's how we get our water. Thanks, Sandy. So many people here are doing so many different jobs. I thought you guys might like one more little part, which is we're going to show you what it's like actually inside the ship. So hopefully it's not too busy and you can keep up. We have 3D printers making tools because we don't have a shop here at sea. There it is there. Control the lab and the dives from this area. Lots of computers. Watch TVs all day. And actually, it's kind of like camp for adults. We get to sleep in bunk beds. So, 2 bunks, a desk, and our own bathrooms, and of course, beautiful porthole at sea. So thanks so much. We'll go back to you, Monica and Nick.
That's actually a pretty awesome moment to wrap up on. We've got our folks who are out at their summer camp at sea. And like we mentioned, if you'd like to follow along, you can always engage with the Ocean Networks Canada website, as well as the Northeast Pacific Deep Sea Exploration Project, or NEPDEP.com. Those are great resources that you can check out as well. Thanks to everybody who shared their time with us today. And of course, big thanks for the folks at sea for sharing their time with us today. So thank you so much. Yeah, there's all of our info. Check that out. Thanks very much. Wonderful.
Thanks for tuning in and all your great questions.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.